Hey, glad you could join me again on Inside Marketing. It's another in-person live on 65 SEO to go special right here on the 65th floor of the Empire State Building here in New York City. We have a lot of a UK focus though for this one. My first guest is from the UK and also one of the first ladies of SEO. As the industry was beginning to emerge and grow, she went from London agency employee and self-declared SEO chick to founding her own agency in 2009, which she successfully grew and sold to global holding company Omnicom in 2017. Now she's a successful entrepreneur, mentor, coach, and from time to time, get ready for this, a stand-up comedian. My second guest is also from the UK and a successful SEO agency owner up north in Manchester. And I am myself from up north in the UK, so I'm much looking forward to this chat. Oh, and by the way, he's also the founder of one of the leading SEO conferences in the UK, and that's due its annual return in just a few weeks from now. So put on your US to UK translation earbuds and let's get started. So here we are. It is another live on 65. I am so happy to have an old friend and colleague of mine come and join me here on the 65th floor of the Empire State Building. Now, the theme or the underlying theme of this season is all around training and education. And when I say training and education, you're immediately going to go, oh, it's all about dealing with AI. Well, part of what we do is about that. But what I really want to talk about is something that we rarely get a chance to do, and that's the business of SEO, not just the strategy and the tactics and how do you do it and why do you do it, but how do you get involved in the business of SEO. Now, you may be a very experienced SEO. You may think to yourself, I've worked for a few agencies. Do you know, I could start my own business because I'm the most experienced SEO in the world. That may or may not help you. We're about to find out because my guest is Lisa Paasche. So, by the way, it's lovely to have you here. Great to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking about when we first met. The reason it's important, because I think you were one of the first lady SEOs, not just in the UK, but probably in the industry, yes?
Yes, one of the first. I think I got into SEO in 2005. First conference, I think, was SES 2006.
I remember you well because we gave you a speaking gig at that one.
2007 was my first speaking gig.
Oh, but the first one you came to was 2005.
Yeah.
So, so you got involved in SEO and you had a great journey in the sense of, given what I just said, running a business, even if you're intrinsic, everything you know about the industry is about the, from the marketing and the strategy and the tactical side of it. Actually running a business, starting one, employing people is an entirely different thing.
It really is.
So let's go back to the beginning. First of all, how did you get involved in SEO? Because even back then, it was still a fairly new kind of area. And a lot of people, particularly in the marketing world, were like, SEO, it's all squiggly dots and code. And who wants to know about that? Where does it fit in marketing,
Yeah, that's it. That's right. So I was working as a marketing agency in London. And then I got pregnant and I had my daughter in 2004. And when I came back from maternity, they said, you can't have your project manager job back because we've already hired someone. But you can do this SEO thing part-time. And I was so worried about money and stuff. So I just said yes. And then went home and Googled, what is SEO?
What is SEO?
It was like, I'm sure I could figure that out. And
You tell your friends I've got a new job, and they said, "What do you do?" And you said, "I'm figuring it out. I don't know."
yeah, but that turned out to be like, honestly, the best bad thing that happened, because as soon as I started kind of reading about it, I was like, this seems quite logical. Why is everyone so like perplexed by this? And then because there was no kind of education about it, there was just blogs. And I started reading a few blogs. I started researching. I Googled loads of things, and then quite quickly started my own blog. Because for me, the best way of learning is by doing, and by writing, I was kind of like getting into remembering the things that I was learning while I was doing it. And then in 2006 was the first time I went to SES, which was your conference.
Yeah.
And I remember coming into SES and not knowing anyone, and I was quite shocked there were so many people. I was like, Jesus, okay, so there are people doing this. And I literally walked up to this group of guys, and honestly, I think I saw two other women at the whole event.
I think Nicola's Stott back in the day, and you and
Judith Lewis.
And Judith Lewis, of
Yeah.
course, Judith, yeah. Were probably and I think you did kind of do a blog together or some stuff together.
I started SEO Chicks because I got really fed up.
Wow, yeah, that was it. Yeah, I remember. Wow, that takes me back.
And that was actually because it was really frustrating how quickly I felt like people didn't think I knew anything because I was a woman. So I convinced Julie Joyce, who was in the US, Judith,
Yes, I remember.
And Judith, to start a blog called SEO Chicks. And they were like, "Oh, why are we calling SEO Chicks?" And I was like, because that's exactly how they think of us. So we call it what they think it is. Then if they read it, they see that we know our shit.
What a great strap line that is. SEO chicks who really know their shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's a good strap line.
And then we actually, I was going to, I think it was SMX that 2007. So I went, I think it was February, the SES, and then SMX was in June. And I made these T-shirts, bright green T-shirts, because I didn't want to do anything pink. I hate that. And it was bright green T-shirts, and it said SEO Chicks over the boobs. I was like, lean in.
I remember it, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a worldwide, sort of Wild West back then, which it kind of is with AI now, the same kind of thing that's going on. But eventually, people began to understand the value of SEO, although I still think there's a little bit more to learn there. But it did kind of find its way. It's always been sort of what I say is that the redheaded stepchild of marketing. It's kind of in the family, but it's hard to find a place in there. But basically, the major agencies started having usually relationships with the smaller SEO companies and then build out their own. At what point did you decide to yourself, I think I know enough about this industry that I'm going to start my own business, because that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I think, I worked for this marketing agency, and because I did pretty well straight away. Like I reckon they kind of gave me the job because they had to give me something, and they were like, well, she will be in a corner and be quiet. But I got, they had Saab as a client. So I was doing local SEO for all the Saab dealerships in the UK and was doing really well. So they let me start hire people. And so I had, I think it was a team of 6 by 2008. And then I was like, look, we are not charging enough for this. This has such value. And this was back in the day because I was also doing analytics, although I was downloading the bloody log files. Oh my God.
I was talking about that recently. And log files are coming back into view again, believe me.
Yeah.
But it is kind of interesting back then that you say that we're not charging enough because, again, sometimes, I don't know whether it still happens, but, I've been in agency SEO business for a long time. And certainly with a lot of the larger agencies, they're selling paid search, and they go, "What about SEO?" They go, "Oh yeah, we'll throw that in,"
Yes,
and then
that's it.
and then try and find somebody in a garage somewhere who's doing
That's
SEO.
That's exactly what it was like. They were giving it away with the other marketing services. And so I tried to convince them, look, we need to really take this seriously because I think this can really grow. And they just didn't want to. So I was like, November 2008, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. So I handed in my notice. Obviously didn't have any clients, couldn't hire any of the staff that I already had. And then January 2009, I'd bought Verve Search as a domain. And then it was SES again that I got. And I was so grateful for that because I was like, look, Mike, I'm going to launch this.
Yeah,
I would like to do it at the conference. And that's how I launched it.
and you had so much support
Yeah,
from everybody to do that.
That's honestly, that for me, you know, I came from a background, and I'm originally from Norway.
Yes, and
I moved to London when I was 20, got pregnant at 25. I had quite a challenging kind of childhood, but I feel emotional just saying it. But for me, when I came into the SEO industry, it was generally like a family immediately. Like people,
my tribe.
yeah, like people cared. Like there were some like really dodgy characters as well, but like generally everyone really supported. And when I said I was starting my own, like everyone's like, yeah, you should. Not, oh my God, what do you know about business? Which was everyone outside of the SEO industry. And so that's how
I think it's great. And the community thing is it doesn't matter, which part of the world that you're in. The SEO community is in every corner. And if you just tell people you're an SEO, you can go to any place and then just drop into an SEO event because there are still plenty of them going on. Boom, that's it. You're in.
Yeah.
I wrote probably one of the first books on SEO, certainly the first book, which was about SEO and the underlying science of information retrieval. And it was such a big seller when eventually people began to realize there was a dearth of information. So to actually have a book where you could have a look at that.
Yeah.
And this sticks in my mind. I tell this story frequently because I was invited to go and speak at a conference in Shanghai. Yeah. I'm in China and I was at the conference center and I go into the men's room, into the restroom. And I'm standing in the restroom. There's a Chinese guy standing next to me and he kept looking at me and I was thinking, what's this guy looking at? And then eventually he goes, you write book. And I was going, wow.
That's so cool.
Like I'm at the toilet in China and there's a guy who read my book standing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. But that's
the community. So you've got a lot of support there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But so just going back to the business of SEO.
Yeah.
Now you've decided to do that. That must have been a huge learning curve.
Oh,
because I remember the first business that I ever started, and it was way back because I come from a broadcast background. So I started a business in that field and I managed to get some VC funding and I'm building studios and I knew all about that. And I got the funding money that wasn't huge, but it was a big deal to me then to get the thing off the ground. But they had to send one of their people to come and work with me. Effectively, he was a consultant, but he was just watching how I spend the money kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was talking about, the studios and how it was going to evolve. And then he was asking me, what do you see about the business, the growth, and what's the exit strategy? And I was thinking, the exit's at the back door. I mean, he actually said to me, he said, I hope you realize that you're now responsible for P&L. And I was like, are they the company Goldfish? What the hell is that? So I'm joking about it. But then all of a sudden, when you start a business, there is a great deal of difference between thinking, I'll create my own job, become a consultant, but then starting a business and then, everything that goes with it. And you do have the P&L and then you start employing people and now you're responsible for feeding their family and
oh my God,
those kind of things.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of the growing pains.
Yeah. So for the first year, I actually hired someone after just 3 months. So it was going pretty well. But then I had my second baby in the second year in 2010, which was technically an SEO baby because the dad I met at the SEO conference was also in search.
A Geordie, in fact.
Yes, that's
and a dear friend of mine.
Yes, I know. Yeah. So that's kind of like slowed down things a bit. But I think from 2011, it started really growing. And to be fair, I think the thing that really helped me is that the places I'd worked before, I never really felt at home. I didn't feel appreciated, or I felt like there was weird rules that didn't make any sense. So from
Just a cog in the wheel. And,
yeah. And so I had a lot of very strong ideas of what I didn't want it to be like, and how I didn't want it to be for the people that worked for me. So I had some, so although I didn't have any experience in business, I'm very much a people person.
Oh, yes.
I call it my superpower and my kryptonite, because if you care about people, it can also really hurt you.
It can fog your decision making sometimes, particularly when it comes down to fundamental things like, you have a great year and everybody gets a bonus, and the following year it's a little bit thin and somebody has to go. And that's a really hard thing. Yeah, I mean, you don't think about those things when you're talking about a business. You're thinking, I'll have a fancy car, buy a nice house, sell the company.
Well, I think, again, my kind of advantage of a disadvantage was that both my parents were bankrupt when they grew up. And so they were not necessarily the best with money. So I was really careful. So the first thing I thought was like, I need to get as much money as I can into the account to be safe. So I kept on I had at least 6 months, so however many employees I had 6 months to pay everyone, even if we lost everything. That was kind of my rule in my head.
It's funny you say that, because you've just reminded me of something, actually. This business that I was telling you about, it wasn't too long before I realized there was so much about running a business that I didn't know. And you really can't just say, oh, well, I'll bring in a finance guy, because you still need to know, what are they doing for me? Those kind of things. And eventually it did get into trouble, financial trouble. And there was just enough in it where I could literally just sell it on to somebody else who wanted it for a different reason. But the assets were, worth something. And I remember sitting with the bank manager, and the bank manager looking at me, and he was saying, you are so, look, because I was this close to going bankrupt. And then he looked at me, smiled, he said, it's a good job it happened, isn't it? And I was thinking, what's funny about this kind of thing? And I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean. He said, talk about a learning curve. He said, it's a good job it happened to you now, because you'll see it coming next time.
Yes.
And he was so right, because I just wasn't thinking like that. I thought we're on a roll, people are paying us, we've got money coming in, and probably not thinking, like 6 months ahead, a year ahead, 2 years ahead, where are we supposed to be?
Yeah.
So like everybody else, you get burned a bit in the beginning. So, some of those mistakes. But understanding cash and cash flow. Then.
Yeah, that was the main thing I had in my head, as I need to make sure that I have enough if things go wrong. But there were loads of, I think the biggest growing pains for me was definitely people related. I'm really good at figuring out whether people will get it. But I think one of my biggest learning from the early years, and I would say especially from 2009 to 2014, was that I gave too much, or I was too friendly. And the problem is when you are too friendly, and especially if you are a woman, I think it's very easy for people to think that you are like, they project you as almost like a parent. And so you are not only responsible for them in a work sense, but you should care about everything that happens. And if you are very friendly and they get really hurt or get really upset, like you are somehow responsible for all their problems. And so I think it was about 2013 when I realized I cannot go out with employees and stay in the pub till the end, and I can't have them on Facebook and not Instagram back then, but I had to create some boundaries.
It's a kind of a balancing act that you have to do, I'm like, we all work together, we're a team kind of thing, but we're not exactly pals. If you
It's hard because it's really lonely and I remember that year, that 2014, when I realized that I had the mistake I'd made is that I was so focused on motivating and getting people excited and telling them they've done a good job, to the degree that it wasn't quite going the way I wanted. And back in 2014, there'd been so many changes that the kind of SEO we were doing, and I was already moving towards the link development side of it, and we called it content marketing back then. And I just couldn't get them to change their viewpoint, because when people feel comfortable that they're doing a great job, you can't tell them, oh, we're not going to do that anymore. That the thing they're good at, we're going to change to this bit. And that was near impossible. So
the thing with the SEO business and the industry is that we're kind of fast followers, not leaders, but always being kind of fast followers. And certainly you have to watch the major players like the Google. And the minute that Google changes something, and then you have to look at your entire business and say, how do we deal with that? You know, and a lot of it is, how can we see it coming?
yeah,
But I want to move on just a little bit, because eventually, with all the twists and turns, you suddenly find that you've got a company, you've got a business, you've got good people, you are acquiring new business. And then when was the point that you looked at the company and thought the company itself now has value?
Yeah.
And what was the value that you saw?
So it was actually in that 2014. So in 2014, the end of the year, my profit margin was like 10%, which I did not think was good. It was less than 100 grand. And I knew that if we kept on going like we did, I already wanted to sell eventually. And so I actually made like 40% of the agency redundant, because it's the only way that I knew that I could make the move.
Make the profit look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was when things really started happening. So January 2015, we had a 10% profit margin. I wanted to change it to, instead of doing content marketing and the kind of SEO that they were doing, link development wise, I wanted it to be like a creative agency doing creative campaigns that will get links from the big sites. So the slogan was, we think like 50s ad execs, but we execute like geeks. And I was adamant, this is going to work. And from January 2015 to September 2017, only 2 years, not even 2 years, we went from 10 to 40% and just under $1 million, and sold Omnicom.
So at that point, from a personal kind of view, was that the exit strategy? Had you been thinking about that? Or did you reach just a point where you thought, I'm just going to condense everything as best as I can, package it up, put it in the window and sell it to the buyers?
No, so I wanted to eventually sell, but for me, the thing was always, and this was the thing with Verve, and the reason, like, Verve means like the passion that an artist have, is that we wanted to be the pioneers of SEO, specifically outreach or digital PR that they call it now. And so the thing I got focused on is I need to focus on the profit margins. I need to get better margins, and we need to do great work. So I had 3 rules. For new business, it needed to earn money. It needed to get results, because if you get results, you will keep the client. And if you keep the client, you can grow the client. And then you can grow much faster. And then you have to learn something and enjoy working with them. And that was the focus. And I was like, I know that will come. I don't need to focus on, okay, what is the strategy of the exit? The strategy of the exit is to be the fucking best. and we won the best SEO agency 3 years running from then on.
And there wasn't as much competition as such, because even though paid search seemed to grow much quicker because it was easier for advertising agencies to understand that, it took a little longer for a pure SEO agency to be able to get to that point and show the value that it
I don't know whether it was. I think there was a lot of SEO agencies, and there were it's definitely harder to sell SEO than paid search, but there were plenty of clients out there, but there wasn't many that were doing the kind of link development that we were doing. It was like us and Distilled and Built Visible in the UK. There was hardly anyone in the US. So it was actually Rory Sutherland at a Brighton SEO that I saw do a talk, and he had a slide that had loads of X's on it and then a circle. And they said, if everyone draws a cross, you draw a circle. And that's what it is.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
So we've reached a point now where the entire world's having to come to terms with AI.
Yeah.
But certainly where the marketing that we do has this underlying element of technology that's attached to it, whether it's paid search, whether it's SEO, whether it's social media, whatever it is, you need to understand that. I guess what I'm thinking is that if you were helping a company now that has to navigate its way through all of this, without going back to the fundamentals that we've covered of trying to understand that you have to run a business, what kind of advice would you be giving now, do you think? By the way, before you answer that is kind of the role that you're in. I mean, you're in more of a consulting advisory role now.
Yeah, so I'm kind of a coach and mentor and advisor. So I think it has to start with the founder. So helping the founder figure out what they actually want and making sure the business is aligned with the vision they have and that they have the right people. So it is, I am an advisor, but not an M&A advisor in the classical sense that come in 2 hours a month and just listen to what someone is saying. It is very much like being part of helping them figure out what isn't working, what are the profits, how can we improve? Yes.
Yeah.
So it is probably more like a consultant, but I can't really quite decide what to call it, because it is whatever you want to call it, I will help you. That's it.
So what kind of companies are you working with now? I mean, are they kind of the companies that are at the formation and we decided to start a company, or is it the other end of the scale where we're doing really well? You sold a company, help us sell ours.
Yeah, so I thought I would be getting more contact from the people that are getting ready to sell, but it is more people that are setting up. And although I haven't got just SEO agencies. I also worked with some creative agencies, but obviously SEO is my background, so there tend to be more of those. But it's kind of varied. I think where I can help the most is when they are at the maybe 20, 25 people getting ready. They have the margins around 15%. This is the sweet spot. It's not about, I think people always think about the revenue and they go like, oh, we have 3 million in revenue. Who gives a fuck? What's your actual profit margin? You need to go focus on the profit. So getting that right, you don't need to double the amount of people you have. Like when we saw, we were like 35. So it's entirely possible. And also it's entirely possible to do it where everyone enjoys it and everyone is aligned and everyone's on board with what you're doing. Like I think a lot of the kind of traditional advisory format is a bit broken because it's all like cloak and dagger. Don't tell your staff. I'd ignored all of that. I told everyone, I said, look, it might happen, it might not. This is what it means for you. This is what it means for me. Because my whole thing is to be honest. I can't
I'm 100% with you on that one, because one of the things that I dislike, and I've been in business for a long time and had senior executive positions. I built companies, sold them, blah, blah, blah. But the one thing that I hate is that when you're sitting in that boardroom and there is kind of a mini crisis, it doesn't have to be a major one that's coming around. And then somebody in the room will say, what are we going to tell the staff?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, let's just tell them what's happening.
Exactly.
Why do we have to have a story? Let's just tell them what's happening,
Yeah.
And
that's what you get trust, even especially if you tell them what isn't what is bad. Because if you tell them what's actually going on, they are more likely to trust you forever because they know that you don't hold back stuff from them.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the things I have done in the last year is I've taken a neuroscience-based coaching qualification because I'm super interested in psychology and neuroscience. and for me, that has really kind of like underlined just how important it is to be authentic, to tell the truth, because people always know. So if you don't tell them something, they still feel that something isn't going.
I was doing an interview recently where we were talking about being authentic, and there was a piece in there about humility. We'll have another one.
Yes.
I think you do need to have some kind of humility, you know. But yeah, I honestly do think that we're at an interesting period now where we're going to see so many talented people who are embracing this new technology, and they are going to want to branch out on their own, and building a business will be different because AI will be adding some and some subtracting the other. But I still think that it's great to have people who have had the experience. And go back to what my bank manager said to me, because he wasn't wrong. I thought he was being funny at the time, but it's a good job it happened to you now, because you'll see it coming next time. You can afford it,
Yeah.
Or you
So
can afford to deal with it, So this is great. Those people who are watching now, and you're thinking to yourself, crap, I could do with some advice having just listened to that. If people want to get in touch with you, Lisa, how can they do that?
So my company is called Ekte, which means real, genuine, authentic in Norwegian. So you can email me on lisa@ekte-vision.com. Website is ekte-vision.com. Or find me on LinkedIn. And it's Lisa Paasche, but I now have to pronounce it Paasche, because if not, I don't get my table at a restaurant.
So exactly, and I was thinking about it because I knew somebody with a similar spelled name, but I think it only had one A in it.
Yeah.
And it was Paasche.
Yeah.
And if you rejoin it would be Paasche.
Yeah.
So it depends where you come from. So I hope I didn't mangle your name.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter. So
because I don't know where you're from when you were married.
Yeah, I was Lisa Myers for so long. I was like, I actually kept the name for a year. I was like, John, do you mind if I just keep this for a bit longer?
Yeah, so just in case anybody's wondering, John is Lisa's former husband, and he's from where I come from, up in the north of England, to Geordie, so we remain pals forever. Anyway, Lisa, lovely to see you. I'm sorry you didn't have a lot more
can I say one more thing?
You surely can.
I just want to say thank you to you, Mike.
To me?
Yes, because you have done so much for the industry, and especially in those early years of my career. I honestly think that if it hadn't been for people like you, I wouldn't be where I am today. So thank you so much for being such a
going to cry at. That is so nice. That's worth a hug.
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful to see you.
Oh, so good. Thank you so much for having me.
I absolutely would have you back again. So that's it. It's great to have Lisa. That's part 1 of this show. We will be back with part 2 fairly soon. And here we are again, back live on 65. We're on the 65th floor of the Empire State Building here in New York City. Some people might be asking, why do you keep telling us that, Mike? Well, because it's great, cool just to hang out here. But the guest that I have today, not only is he here on the 65th floor of the Empire State Building for the first time, not only is he here in New York for the first time, he's actually here in the US for the very first time. So, Charlie Whitworth, great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
So I was having a conversation with a friend and colleague of yours, with Lisa Paasche, as I say now, but I might have to learn to pronounce that again.
I'm going to use it. Paasche.
Paasche, is that what it is? Okay, well, we'll go with you. And the conversation that I was having with her, we were talking about not just the training and education idea, which is really important to this season, because the minute you say that, people start saying, oh, it's all about AI. But I'm talking about the business of SEO as well, because there are so many people who, like Lisa, started a business at that, kind of a great time where SEO was really becoming a deal, and people were beginning to understand what it is. And she was there just at the time that the curve was right, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And certainly AI is making a big difference to the entire world, but certainly in the SEO industry, you're kind of having to look at what it is, what's the offering, what are you doing, how do you differentiate yourself? You're in the SEO business.
I am.
In the business in the sense that you do have an SEO company, but at the same time, you're in the SEO community. Let's get the guys and everybody together in the industry to hang out and running a conference as well, all in the UK. So I'm originally from the UK. I don't get back very often. I've been hanging out here for the past 20 years.
No, but
But can we start there? Let's first of all give us a little bit of the background. How did you get into SEO? Where did it start? And then we'll talk about where you are now.
of course, yeah. So I actually came into SEO from a journalistic background. I did a journalism degree, and realized that wasn't going to pay very well unless I was going to become the next anchor man for the BBC or something. And started writing content for agencies, and then discovered tech SEO and SEO, and I really got the book for that at a pretty good time. It was around the same time probably that Lisa's and Verve were doing really well. That was kind of, I look back and the golden time, but the SEC was moving around then, around 2010. But it enabled me to obviously look at content from a journalistic perspective, which has been quite advantageous from an SEO point of view.
Well, yeah, I mean, you get keywords and blah, 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 blah.
But then just to step away from that as well and look at the user and actually, is this content, is SEO optimized, but is it user friendly and is it compelling and engaging and things? But then equally found quite a passion for the tech SEO part. So I was quite lucky in that respect. So I've always considered myself quite a hybrid SEO. And now with everything that's happening, that's continued to offer value for me. So yeah, I came into it from a journalist perspective, worked agency side for 12, 13, 14 years, and then finally decided to take the plunge and start my own business about 4 years ago. Yeah.
So SEO is SEO, and the underlying science is the underlying science. But I'm just trying to think, because when I was doing SEO, and I started doing SEO way back, 31 years ago, I started my first agency.
Right.
In the UK, believe it or not. I started an internet marketing agency. And as I've said to everybody, it turns up every time people say to me, what a visionary, 31 years ago, internet, and I'm like, 31 years ago, it was the dumbest thing nobody needed an internet marketing agency.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, but it started to change. And in 2002, I wrote the second edition of a book that I did. Originally, the first edition I wrote didn't get much, but by 2002, it was kind of like the main source for people to go to.
Right.
And the industry was beginning to grow. People were looking for places for this kind of education. And because the book was sold so well internationally, I ended up here in the US and got stuck here, kind of thing. The reason I'm saying all of that is the industry was just growing in the UK. It was growing here in the US. There were some kind of differences culturally in the way that people approach it. But what do you think, having been a part of it growing in the UK and then looking at the US from a cultural point of view, is there much difference?
I'm not sure there is. I've been massively influenced by a lot of American SEO professionals and UK. I'm here for SEO Week to see Mike King, and a lot of admiration for what he's done. But I feel like it's very collaborative. I feel like the advancements in technology recently have enabled a bit more sharing. The AI thing has further spun in the works, obviously, but I would say, I've got friends that are accountants, doctors, lawyers. I don't think there's an industry that are so willing to share and collaborate and go on that journey together than SEO. And like alluding to what Elise was saying before about the support she felt from people like yourself and other people. We help each other because we don't really know what Google's doing. We don't really know what a lot of these search engines, we certainly don't know what the LLMs are doing. So we're a united force and we're going on that journey together. And I think that is very transatlantic.
Yeah. So what are the things that the SEO community does have this, I don't know if it's so much unique, or it certainly feels like it sometimes, that I want to talk about conferences and the way that conferences actually brought the community together, and you're involved in that as well. There is this kind of thing at conferences where people go to speak. I'm talking outside of this industry, and they'll go on stage and talk about the business, but they won't talk so much about how we changed the strategy, that what we did that was tactical, that was different, because they might have one of their competitors, a big audience. Yeah. Yet I've always found with the SEO industry that let's just bear it all. They just get up there and say, this is what we're doing. And if it works for you, God bless you. Yeah, you know.
I know, as I said that, I mean, I've got colleagues that are like, why would you give your tactics away? But it's like, you know, I think what comes around goes around in a certain respect, but you still got to have that intuition to know what to do with that. You can't just go and take a presentation and go and actually you need to understand what you're doing with that.
Exactly.
And so I think it's a great industry, and that's why I've stayed in it for so long, because it is cloud. I mean, as again, what you said before, you know, there are some people or companies you need to watch out for, but generally speaking, you know, I think that fosters this community, and the conferences are so crucial to that. And I've created one myself in Manchester, but because Manchester is a really hotbed of digital agencies and media companies, but without the conferences, I feel like the industry would be far worse on, because it fosters that.
So I'm going to say something probably a little controversial here, because it is kind of different when you are an agency and you start to run your own conference, because then you wonder, why would other agencies come if you are there with your clients and that kind of thing. But that's just one aspect of it. But I was very fortunate in that in the first industry conference, Search Engine Strategies, I was a part of that at the beginning, and eventually ended up as the I was running the conference and running the two major publications at the time. My focus, kind of given what we've just been talking about, the business of SEO. Yeah. While I was running the conference, the publication, I wasn't so much focused on how much do you know about SEO? Are you the coolest guy in SEO kind of thing? I had to shift my focus from agency to publisher to content producer.
Right.
And that's an entirely different thing. And then look at the business itself and how does the business run? And one of the things that I discovered, and this is kind of one of the things that I was kind of keen to talk to you about as well, is that if you look at your agency business and you think about what is the core of this business about, what is the core business? A conference has nothing to do with it whatsoever. And then if you start a conference, if you spin off and do an agency, that's an entirely different business area, a different focus altogether. So I always find that the people who have an agency who decided, and even if it's just bringing their clients in a client conference, that they lose money.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's very hard to make money, serious money, from an event.
But that's the whole point. I don't know that people realize just how wafer thin the margins are in running a conference.
This is the attribution thing, though, so it's impossible to gauge that. So I definitely have found that when I'm in pitch situations now, I've built a bit more credibility because of the event. And you know, I speak on panels and I'm in there. Who knows? Like, it may be that when it comes to decision time for those clients, it may be that I get the nod because that credibility I built from the event and from being surrounded myself with other experts. Who knows? But it's a big black hole from a tracking perspective.
It is kind of, but again, a lot of it depends as well on the way you do it. And certainly, what I found during a conference is that the conferences that we ran were absolutely huge. They became massive because it became the central focus of the SEO industry, where you're going to learn everything, you know, for a period in time. And then the numbers started to decrease when there was more and more information out there. But certainly building a reputation for yourself as an expert is, and the credibility, and that you are seeing and that you are giving at that kind of thing, then.
I mean, I honestly didn't start my conference for financial reasons. It was something that there was a big hole. There was no Northern Marketing Conference after SaaSCon. I wanted to do it, and it was my passion.
Charlie had no friends, unfortunately.
I decided to do that and say I was stuff. But he's very saying, I was a lot of people said I was mad, but there was a gap, and honestly, I wanted to bring the community together, and that sounds very altruistic, but it's true. And then if you could make some money out of it, that's obviously nice. But I think genuinely, it's helped the agency, but it's helped the community because, you know, the north of England is got so many great agencies and great professionals and a great community. We like to have fun as well. So it's fun.
So from a business point of view, you said you started an agency and you've got your own business. It's going now. Going back to the business of SEO, where are you now? I mean, you're working with Lisa. So you're obviously taking some advice. What is it that you need the most help with now? Is it growing the business, becoming more profitable, looking for that exit strategy?
I don't think that we're an exit strategy because I think I'll be doing SEO forever. I'll be very sad if I'm not. It's like I'm genuinely passionate about it.
I thought that.
I want to scale it.
And I still do, to be honest. I'm 71 years old and I'm still hanging on in here. But a couple of times I thought, no, sell the agency.
you look it's all like it. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, we love it and we hate it, don't we? Like there's challenging times, but generally speaking, I still have loads of passion for it. And if I did ever exit, then I'd probably start something else straight away because that's but I think that no, the challenge is trying to scale it. I at least will attest this, but I'm struggling to find a team that I can trust to execute things in the way that I like to do, and that may be my problem because I'm not being trusting enough. But I think the industry's changed so much in the last 5 or 6 years. Like when I was an agency side and recruiting for teams, there was SEOs everywhere. And I think people drift off into different areas like digital PR and more creative and social media and things like that. But yeah, my challenge at the moment is trying to build a team that can execute things in a way that that aligns with my vision.
Yes.
Which might be
so it's more about structuring the business to get it exactly where
because I'm marking myself as authentic, much like Lisa and like yourself. But to do that, I need to make sure that the people I would employ, the people who work with me, are authentic. And I'm not saying that people aren't, but that's building a team that have the same vision, the same values is tricky. Recruitment is tricky, isn't it? And recruitment is probably the biggest challenge that a lot of agencies or consultants have. So that's the challenge I've got. It's not necessarily a bad one, but that's the next step. Yeah.
But something I've learned over the years, and I've been with many agencies, agency business is people business. So, nobody ever bought an agency because they needed some chairs and desks.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So, given where you are now and the audience that you have at the moment that we're talking to, for anybody who's thinking about starting a business in the field of SEO, or do you build a specialist agency, we only do SEO, or do you have to have a little bit more of an offering?
So it's organic search, isn't it? It's all that. So it's basically, I'm trying to distill this down for people. It's less reliance on paid search. I'm not anti-paid search, but essentially the job of an SEO company or another organic search company is to reduce reliance on paid, right? So you have to buy so much traffic. So organic search now is obviously digital PR, it's tag SEO, it's content marketing, it's social media, it's LLM visibility. So I did a talk yesterday after party SEO week, but the acronym of SEO has never been a reliable description of what we do. We don't optimize search engines. We don't. We optimize websites.
I was to say that I've been saying it for 30 years or something. I honestly, so dude, credit me to be the first person who said
the best part. I mean, we don't optimize search engines. We optimize websites, and SEO will always be that acronym, and that's fine. But we do a lot more.
But again, this is why, and I'm sorry, I'm talking to the entire industry again as I do. If I said SEO is dead, you all freak out. But I mean, what if we don't do SEO? Then it wouldn't matter if the acronym went and could disappear.
Exactly.
Because that's not what we do anyway.
We waste so much time debating it. Like that's time that should be spent on actually strategy.
Absolutely.
So,
and I think part of it is to do with the fact that I've always said that SEO, because people always see it as a technical operation, don't fully understand exactly where it fits in the marketing mix. And seasoned marketers were going like, you just talked about basics. We don't want to talk about that. Yeah. But it's just like saying, I don't like people saying digital marketing. And I'll tell you why. Because if you agree with what I'm saying about an SEO, people talk about digital marketing. And I think, why are you saying that? We are marketing in a digital world. We are not digital marketers. I mean, back in the day, I don't ever remember waking up before digital and saying, I'm going to do some analog marketing today. So today's my day. Whoever said that? And then when I think about agencies, large agencies, they have the digital marketing budget over here and the other, it's all marketing. I say this,
digital PR, like it's PR.
A 30-second ad that you just created was made using a digital camera. It was edited on digital software. It was sent to a cloud server that sent your digital ad to TV stations, that sent that digital ad to your digital television. Yes.
I mean, it's been digital for a while.
Exactly. At the end of the day, there was no analog involved. In fact, this morning when you woke up, the toaster that you used for your bagel was probably a fucking digital toaster.
Yeah, exactly. Completely.
Sorry, I get passionate about this. As you know, we just do marketing. And that's why when I hear people say digital PR, but what sent me on this whole thing was that with the SEO thing, if we just started talking about marketing PR, advertising and PR the way that we did, I always thought paid search is advertising and SEO is PR. If you looked at them in that kind of way, that's basically the way it is. And they work beautifully together, you know?
They do. I mean, and
I have a question for you, by the way. It's very important, this one, Sean. Who's interviewing who here? Because I think I might have taken over.
it's great. I love it. I mean, we could probably talk all day.
I'm afraid we'll go another 5 minutes, but there's a great bar downstairs, mate.
Lovely. Well, I mean, just to sign on that point very quickly, I think with the AI search, GAO, AO, whatever you want to call it, I call it AI search. I think a soundbite that went out quite well when I spoke at the SEO last night was, if you're a marketer who embraces SEO, you'll be fine. But if you're an SEO who's always been reluctant to do marketing, then your time might be up. But I think good marketing is still good marketing.
It is what it is.
Also, it's huge services and it's exciting. So
here's another one of mine that you can use any way you like in any conference session that you want. Yeah. We are not sending data to devices. We are sending marketing communications to human beings.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that.
Put the user first.
Anyway, great to see you. I hope next time you come, you'll come back and join us if you're at the 65th floor. But so far, given that, as I mentioned at the very beginning, let's go back to that. Your first visit to the US was planned in 2019. And unfortunately, something happened during the course of that year that prevented you from coming.
That's correct. You know, I've been dying to come for years. I mean, it's a work trip, but it's also, you know, I'm looking forward to exploring the city a bit more. But it's sort of just still, but it's surreal for me, to be honest.
And that's why I'm so happy. I'm so happy that on your first trip you get to come up and enjoy the views.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Anytime at all, buddy. Great to meet you. It's nice to meet somebody from the north of England again. Yeah. I don't go back so often. Strangely enough, even now, I've been living here for 20 years and people still say, "What's your accent?" They can't get it. But lovely to have you. Thanks for coming up. And next time you're in town, we'll catch you then.
Great.
Love it. Thanks again to my guests, to Lisa and Charlie. And thanks as always to you for joining me. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a nice big I liked it. And do me a favor, please remember to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss another show. And if you'd like to whoosh up to the 65th floor of the Empire State Building, sit yourself down next to me and have a little chat about what's going on in marketing here, there, and everywhere. Drop me a line at guests@insidemarketing.us. That's guests@insidemarketing.us. Tell me what's on your mind and what you'd like to share, and then we'll just take it from there. That's all for now. Take care. I'll see you on the next one.